Hello everyone, I'm going to be doing a fun tutorial here which is along the theme of Diablo, since the Diablo 3 beta is on the horizon. P.S. Check out my Diablo 3 channel, youtube.com/12d3. Now that that plug is out of the way, you can see my cool little map I got here for the tutorial. And right away you can see that if I hold down left mouse, my guy follows that direction forever, and when I let go, he stops. And as you saw from that note, if I press 1, it sets SCII Storm to right mouse, so I can hold down right mouse and it'll cast it around. And I'm not using any mana for this, so I can unlimited cast just for the tutorial. Pressing 2 sets it to snipe. Obviously not a great spell for Diablo, but it doesn't really make sense in the Diablo universe, but just because I wanted to use something already in the game, which it needs a target, as you can see there. So if I go over here and hold down right mouse, he just sniped it, and sniped that one. And then if I press 3, I can cast Guardian Shield, which is just, and I can cast it a lot of times, and I can hold down the mouse if I wanted to or not. And I can move forward here, and if I hold down left mouse with this Zergling clicked, he'll attack. And yeah, so it's basically exactly like Diablo controls, and it's more accurate, I think, than my last Diablo tutorial, which was kind of a tricky thing before they had most move detection triggers in the trigger events in the trigger editor. So you can move around, cast SCII Storm, kind of run away, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty close to Diablo controls, so if anyone's making a Diablo map, by all means, you can use my triggers and my data set up here. This tutorial is going to involve the trigger editor and the data editor, because to make things a certain way, to make it work, you have to use both for this. But it's pretty cool. It feels like Diablo, I'll say that. And I tried to replicate it as best as I could, because I like Diablo a lot, so I wouldn't settle for any less. And there's no UI, as you can see. I mean, this isn't a tutorial about UI. It's just about the controls and sort of using some basic spells. And if you do go use this tutorial, then you can expand it yourself. And I think I have dialogue tutorials somewhere. I made so many I forget, but why don't we go ahead and hit the editor and start making this tutorial. Alright, so with the StarCraft 2 editor open, you're just going to go File, New, and I'm going to make a new map to showcase this on. All these settings are fine. I'm just going to use the melee settings, and any random map, 88 by 88 is okay. And I guess you could put this stuff in this tutorial into your actual map, but I'm just going to be showcasing it from scratch, and for 2 players. So the first thing we're going to do is hit Map at the top, and then go to Player Properties, and click on the row of Player 2, and change the control drop down to be User. So this is simulating that we'll have 2 players on Battle.net. And I'm going to try and build my tutorials around having multiple players now, because it's more relevant, I think, than just having a 1-player setup. Because you'll run into headaches when you have multiple people in a map versus testing by yourself, right? So aside from that, now we just have to place our little heroes, zealots, and some zerglings to kill, of course. So for player, I'm on the units layer already, so make sure you're on layer units. And for player 1, I'm going to drop a Protoss zealot and press mouse down, middle mouse. I'm going to drop him right in the center here, and then I'm going to hit 2 on my keyboard, which switches it to player 2, as you saw. It's a quick way of doing that. And I'm going to drop the other zealot right there, and then I'm going to switch to player 15, because I don't know the hotkey for that, and switch to Zerg, and drop some Zerglings that we can kill to test this out. And I'm being very specific here. Do not place a different unit, because we're going to do some data editor customization for Zerglings. So whatever I change on the Zergling in the data editor, if you place down some Hydralisks, you'll have to change it for them too. Some stuff to do with to make it more like Diablo. There, so we have some Zerglings spread around here for player 15, and we got our 2 player guys in the middle, and that's all we need to do here. And let's go straight to the data editor and configure stuff so that it feels more like Diablo. Because there's a lot of things that an RTS will do that kind of get in the way. So you can mess with the lights if you want to. You just have to find whatever map you are on. So mine's Agria, and you could go in here and make it darker if you wanted. I'm not going to waste time on that for this, but For cameras, one thing I like to do is go to the default camera here, cameras tab, default camera, remove the zoom levels, so double click on that field, click on the first row, and just hit the red X for all of them, so you can't wheel in and wheel out. And then initial parameter, double click that, and for distance, I'm going to set it to 27. And you can actually see the effects of this right away. If I go back in the train editor here and hit my middle mouse down, you can see it's actually closer than what it usually is on maps. So by changing the default camera in the data editor, it actually affects the camera in the train editor and in-game. So this will be because I think normally it's like this, zoom out. So Diablo's a little bit closer, so I'm trying to simulate that. And that's all we got to do for camera. You can play around more if you wanted, but I think the angle is great and everything's good about that. Now let's fix up the units so we can test some actual Diablo stuff. So I switched to the units tab here, switch data source to be your maps rather than all data. Actually, no, we don't want to do that. Switch it to all data first. Search for Zergling. We'll switch later. Click on the Liberty Multi one because I think you can't change this one because it's the higher up one in the hierarchy. Click on this Zergling here, and we're just going to change some flags on it so it functions more like a Diablo monster. So if you scroll down and double click on unit flags on the value here, we are going to uncheck cannot be clicked and cannot be highlighted. And those two things are what we need to do for triggers, because there's trigger events like when a unit is clicked or a unit is highlighted, and they're only triggered if the unit has this checked off on them. So for any monster that you make in this Diablo map, you'd have to uncheck these because all Blizzard units have them checked by default, and that's not good for what we want, but it's obviously more efficient. But since we're using triggers that depend on highlighting and clicking units, we have to uncheck those. And don't think that cannot be clicked means you can never click this unit, because it's just referring to the trigger, and you'll see in a sec. I can still select this unit with this unchecked or checked. And the other thing is we want to check off unselectable. So this will prevent you from actually selecting the Zergling. And the reason for that is, and hit OK. And the reason for that is because in RPGs, you sort of always have your hero selected. And so what we're going to do is simulate it by pretending like your hero is always selected. And we don't want you to accidentally select a Zergling, and then you'll lose control of your Zealot. So that's why we're doing that. And you'll see why later anyway. So that's all we got to do for the Zergling. So let's switch and search for the Zealot here in the data editor. Click on the Liberty Multi one. And what do we got to change here? We got to scroll up here and give him some abilities so we can test out cool stuff. So double click on Abilities Plus, scroll down here and click on the last one and just copy paste. And let's change this to High Templar Psystorm. Copy paste, and let's change this one to Ghost Sniper. And copy paste, and let's change this to Sentry Guardian Shield. So we just have a variety of spells. And you don't need to add it to the command card because we'll be doing it completely through mouse like Diablo has. And we'll be hiding the UI, so that's why. And then for behavior response, we want to change that from acquire to no response, because in Diablo, it's up to you to hold down your left mouse to attack. You don't automatically attack back, right? So I'm just trying to make it as equivalent as possible to Diablo 2. And next thing is combat default acquire level, not offensive, because you don't auto attack in Diablo. We want it to be none. And then we can scroll all the way down to unit flags, and double click it. And we just want to uncheck cannot be highlighted because we need that event, I think, for this. And unselectable, we want to check off that. So like I said, we're going to simulate like our hero's always selected. So you don't actually have him selected in the StarCraft 2 sense, in the RTS sense, but you will have him sort of be ordered around like you have him selected all the time, like in World of Warcraft or Diablo. You don't select your hero like in Warcraft 3. You have him always selected, and I hope that's clear. He's done this for himself, but we need to fix up his weapon so he doesn't auto attack as well. So scroll down in the Object Explorer, find his Zealot Psyblade's weapon. Double click on Weapon Scan Filters, and uncheck Ally Enemy Neutral Player, so he doesn't have any automatic scanning on his weapon. And now we just want to fix up his abilities so we can actually cast them. So on Ghost Sniper, click on that up here at the top of the Object Explorer. Double click on Cost and click on the first row. scroll down, and we want to set the cooldowns time use to 0.1. This is completely arbitrary. This is just to prevent it so you can't spam it, like click, 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 click. There's always a minimum cast time, so I'm setting it to 0.1. You could set it higher if you wanted, if you didn't want him to be able to click snipe a million times per second. And then the vitals energy cost, I'm going to make it 0. And you can come back and change that when you actually add energy to your hero. You might have noticed that on the Zealot I actually skipped energy completely because I'm not going to be showing that here. He's just going to be able to unlimited cast, which is not a good idea, by the way, but is good for demoing my tutorial. And the other thing, I think that's it for snipe, actually. Oh no, the cast start time. We need to remove this. So double click on that, hit the red X, and hit OK. That actually ruins our little triggers by having that there. So sniper is done now. It should be snipe, actually, I think. High Templar SCII Storm. So click on that down here in the Object Explorer. We need to scroll up here to Ability Commands Plus, click on the first index, and then hit the red X for requirements because we don't want that requirement, that research requirement. And now double click on cost again, click on the first row, scroll down, set the cooldown to 0.1, and I'm going to set the energy cost under vitals to 0. And that's all we need to do here, and then the cast finish time. Delete it out like that, and okay. The SCII Storm is good to go. And then Sentry Guardian's Shield, double click on cost, and click on the first row, and find cooldown again. We don't want that cooldown, make it 0.1, and energy cost is 0. So the only bug with this is that you can mass cast Guardian Shield on yourself, but I don't think it stacks, so it's okay. But if it does, there's always ways to fix that, but not what I want to show in this tutorial. And we are done with data now, so we're going to head right into triggers, and the triggers are fairly simple and straightforward. I've done a lot of fine-tuning to make them sort of work really like Diablo, so let's head on over to the trigger editor.